Welcome everyone to another Destiny 2 Hunter build inside of Renegades, and today I'm bringing you such a disgusting build that I finally felt confident enough to put #1 Hunter build in the thumbnail and title. I normally don't ever like doing that because I feel like most of the time it's just insane clickbait out of a lot of YouTubers, but today I really felt like this build deserves it. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you just see the gameplay you're looking at right now, just pay attention to my ability regen, as well as how many orbs I'm creating and how often I'm healing myself. There's just so many things going on at once with this build that it just absolutely fries really any content you want. The main component to this build is actually the exotic Lucky Raspberry. This thing received a massive buff inside of Renegades. I'll probably have like a little picture on screen, but basically this thing now provides you with an absolute insane amount of ability regen, which is why I'm able to do what you're seeing in the gameplay right now. It is such a great buff and it really feels insanely good, because honestly before this buff I made a Lucky Raspberry build video maybe about like a month or two ago, but other than that I have never really used this thing until now. This thing has for sure been my go-to for Lawless Frontier activity specifically, and that is just because of the insane amount of ads that activity provides, as well as the fact that you don't naturally regen, so being able to regen in this build with basically any kill you get is such a nice bonus. The gameplay you're watching right now is Lawless Frontier gameplay on the hardest difficulty, which puts you at 25 light under, and as you can see there's really nothing stopping me at all in the gameplay you're watching. This build also luckily doesn't feature any weapon requirements, so if you are someone who likes to change your weapons between activity or has your favorite weapon out there that you never like taking off, you can fit it into this build and it will work just fine for you. As always with all of my builds, I do have a link to the build in the description. If you just want to click on that and look at the build there without watching the rest of the video, that is fine with me. But for now, let's go ahead and break down and get down to the details as to why I feel comfortable calling this build one of the best hunter builds in the game. So first things first, we need to go over the thing that absolutely carries this build, and that is the new and improved Lucky Raspberry. Ignore the ornament. I do have an Omnioculus ornament right now just for drip. This is not the Omnioculus. This exotic comes with the armor perk probability matrix, where your arc bolt grenades will have increased chaining capabilities and now apply jolt on hit. Damaging combatants with jolt or applying jolt to targets will grant yourself additional arc bolt grenade energy. That second line of text there is really the main kicker with this exotic. That is just, it's so insane. That combined with the fact now that your arc bolt grenades by default will apply jolt, so you don't need to run the fragment that does that, just makes it where you have an additional fragment slot on top of that. So just to show you what Lucky Raspberry does on its own, when I throw an arc bolt grenade, just look at my arc energy. Pretty much just by hitting, I don't even know, like 6 enemies there, pretty much have my arc bolt grenade back already. Now, obviously in gameplay situations, you're not always going to have, you know, the nice luxury of 6 enemies sitting right in front of you ready to take an arc bolt grenade. But as you can see, you basically do get a nice chunk of energy every time you throw your arc bolt. Now, keep in mind, the real best part about Lucky Raspberry is the jolting part, where whenever we apply jolt to a target or actually proc and do damage with jolt, it gives us more arc bolt energy. Because of that, we're going to run the 2 aspects that make it where our other 2 abilities will apply jolt. In the first slot, we're going to run Tempest Strike. This makes it where whenever we do a power melee in the middle of a slide, we get a brand new power melee attack that is ranged and does apply jolt. It also comes with the added benefit there at the bottom, where whenever you defeat a jolted target, you get yourself a bolt charge. So if I go ahead and throw my arc bolt grenade, have 0 energy, as you can see, whenever I use this, it'll travel along the ground, apply jolts, and I already pretty much have roughly 2/3 of arc bolt energy just from that one melee. And then in the second aspect spot, we're going to run Ascension. This makes it where whenever we use our class ability in air by pressing a special button, it will replace our class ability with a new move that will basically apply jolt to enemies around us. So once again, throw my arc bolt grenade. You can see I have 0 energy. Stand near a group of enemies, I apply jolt to them by using that. I didn't even hit this guy in the corner, and once again have about 2/3 of my arc bolt grenade. We are then, for the class ability, going to use Ambush Dodge. This is just so whenever we do use Ascension, we do get that Tempest Strike back. And then we're going to use Combination Blow, so that every time we do get kills with Tempest Strike, it'll make the amount of damage our next Tempest Strike does do way more. That combined with the fact that Combination Blow, whenever you get a kill with it, will refund your class ability energy, basically makes it where we have this loop where I can use Ascension to get my melee, use my melee to get Ascension, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. So if I throw my arc bolt grenade, go in with a melee obviously, run next to people, use Ascension, I now have my melee back, have another arc bolt grenade, then can go use Tempest Strike again to get Ascension back, do that, you get the gist. Rinse and repeat over and over again, giving yourselves basically infinite ability spam without even having to shoot a weapon. Now, in terms of your super, feel free to run whatever you want. I like running Gathering Storm just because it's quick, easy, lets me play the game while it does damage for me, which is all things I like in a super. Now for our fragments, in the first slot, we're going to run Spark of Frequency. We're mainly using this for that bottom paragraph there, where whenever we're amplified, it basically increases how many stacks of bolt charge we get from any source. And like I mentioned before, on Tempest Strike, anytime we kill someone who is jolted, we'll gain a bolt charge. This just makes it where we now gain more bolt charge. We are then going to run Spark of Resistance. This makes it where whenever we are surrounded by combatants, we gain additional damage resistance. This is huge for us because this build really does encourage an aggressive playstyle, so you're going to want to be around enemies pretty much at all times. We're then going to run Spark of Ions, where defeating a jolted target basically creates an ionic trace that will track to us and give us some more ability energy. We're going to run Spark of Focus, where after we sprint for a short time, our class ability regeneration is increased. This is just so on the off chance we don't get a kill with Tempest Strike, we can obviously sprint around to get Ascension back quicker. And then in the final slot, we're going to run Spark of Beacons. This makes it where whenever we are amplified, our arc special heavy weapon ammo final blows will create a blinding explosion. Now this is huge because this leads us to the weapons I recommend using this build. In terms of weapons you need to run for this build, there really aren't any because like I said, your abilities are going to be doing most of the heavy lifting. The only thing I can recommend is something that applies jolts and is special. At the moment, I'm running the Unfall. I don't have it in my inventory, but the brand new special hand cannon that has like the scope on it that dropped in Renegades is also an arc special that drops with jolting feedback. So those are both great options for this build. The reason we're going to want jolting feedback is obviously, like I said before, Lucky Raspberry makes it where whenever you apply jolts, you can gain some arc bolt energy back. So if I go ahead and throw away my arc bolt grenade, as you can see, every time I get a kill, since it's a special weapon and I'm amplified, it creates a blinding explosion. But then it will eventually apply jolt to targets and give me some arc bolt energy back. And then for the exotic of choice and the heavy I'm using is Anarchy. I think Anarchy fits perfectly in this build because obviously it is a arc heavy, so it does apply the blinding. The gameplay loop on this build is so ability focused, and that is just because we are constantly gaining our abilities back that we really are just going to be spamming them on repeat and not really ever shooting our weapons. Anarchy works perfectly for that because you can just shoot 2 little anarchies out on a big target, deal DPS while continuing that ability loop. It doesn't break up our loop at all. That applied with the fact that it will constantly deal damage to a big target, and if they're jolted, it'll keep proccing that jolt damage over and over again, which will then proc our Lucky Raspberry down here. So like for example, on a big target, if I do that, throw out my arc bolt grenade, and then get the loop going with my regular stuff, like my abilities and stuff, it will continuously tick and apply damage while I'm doing damage to my abilities and keep ticking that jolt over and over again so that I get stuff like my arc bolt grenade back. Now the weapons you use aren't necessary though, so if you have your favorite weapon you'd rather slot in, feel free to do so. These are not mandatory by any means. Now when it comes to the artifact perks, there are going to be a couple that are actually very huge and important for this build. The first one you're going to want to throw on is Gravitic Voltaic Charge. Just this makes it where, since we have an arc super, we'll gain an additional armor charge. From there, we're going to throw on Elemental Siphon. This just makes it where whenever we get kills with our arc weapons, which doesn't happen too often because we're getting kills with our abilities, but just in case we do, it'll help create ionic traces. And then in my opinion, by far the most important artifact perk, the thing that absolutely boosts this build an insane amount, is Dielectric. This makes it where whenever you defeat arc debuff targets, you grant yourself a bolt charge. And whenever you rapidly defeat arc debuff targets, it will spawn an overpower and also heal you a little bit. So just by using this one artifact perk, you're doing 3 things. You're creating orbs of power, you are healing yourself, and you are gaining additional stacks of bolt charge. And then last but not least, the final artifact perk that I recommend you run in this specific build is going to be Elemental Orbs Arc. Obviously, as you can see, I don't have it just yet, so I can't really show gameplay off of it. But just by reading the perk, I can already tell you it's going to be really good with this build. This makes it where arc weapon final blows have a chance to spawn an arc elemental orb. Arc orbs then can be picked up and thrown, or they can be shot to create an arc explosion that will jolt targets. This in my brain, if anyone has been around long enough, just sounds like Warmind Cell to me, so this kind of just feels like to me this is their way of bringing Warmind Cells back. But in this specific instance, it's arc, and the big really part about this is that it is another way to apply jolt, meaning another way to get ourselves some more bolt charge and our ability energy back. Now, in terms of our armor stats, you really just want as high as a grenade stat as possible. It's just because we're going to be spamming our grenade a lot, so why not have it do more damage? From there, I opted for high class stat just so we can constantly get our ascension back over and over again, just for an easy way to apply jolt, become amplified, and get our melee back. From there, the rest of the stats are up to you. If you can, another good stat to get high as possible is melee, just so your Tempest Strike does more damage. But in all honesty, as long as you have a high enough grenade stat, you should be good enough. Another thing I can give a quick little shout out to is obviously the smoke jumper set armor bonus. We are going to be creating a whole bunch of orbs in this build, and anytime you do pick up an orb of power by running this armor set, you'll gain yourselves some briefly decaying damage reduction. Now for the armor mods, on our helmet, we're going to run Ashes to Assets and Dynamo just so we can get ourselves our super back quicker, and then we're going to run Harmonic Siphon. On our arms, go ahead and run Firepower, Grenade Font, and Bolstering Detonation. If you can already get your grenade to 200 stat, you do not need Grenade Font at all, so feel free to swap this out for Heavy Handed. On the chest piece, I'm running Harmonic Ammo Generation and 2 copies of whatever damage resist you prefer. On our boots, I'm going to run Double Arc Weapon Surge and then Innovation. And on the class item, I'm running Reaper, Powerful Attraction, and Bomber. Basically, just to sum up what these mods do, it makes it where we create an orb of power after any grenade kill, arc weapon kills, or a kill after using our ascension. From there, we use that orb to gain armor charge to boost how much our arc weapons are doing, as well as our grenade stat. Grabbing those orbs will also give us some grenade energy, and then anytime we get kills with our grenades or by using our ascensions near enemies, we will gain super energy. Here is the drip in case anyone cares to see it. But yeah, that's going to do it. That is the entire brand new Lucky Raspberry build that I currently think is one of the best hunter builds in the entire game. This thing is super juiced. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. But for now, let's go ahead and take this build into some live gameplay for you. For the build today, we're going to take this into the Salt Mine solo ops, and we're going to be on ultimate difficulty, making it where we are 30 power under. All right, so the way you use this build is pretty straightforward. It's literally just spam your abilities off cooldown and make sure you're applying jolt to things. It couldn't get honestly more simpler. The entire build basically does most of the work for you. Oh, there's an unstop. Oh, that bullet charges a lot of damage in there. Beautiful. See, just like easy work. You really don't have to do much at all, and you'll get insane amounts of like just value. All right, like I mentioned before, just by getting kills on jolted targets and by using your abilities, you'll gain bullet charge, which is obviously how I was able to do that big chunk to that unstop. You'll then become obviously amplified by the amount of... Oh, another one. Oh, I forgot to slide beforehand. That's embarrassing. There we go. Beautiful. And now we can obviously keep the loop going again on enemies. And the one good thing about this is you don't necessarily need like some of the other ability spam regen builds in the game. You don't need a ton of enemies to actually keep your stuff up. So don't feel like if you just use an arc bolt grenade on literally one enemy or anything like that, that you're wasting your arc bolt grenade. You will get it back super quick no matter what. So don't feel bad if you feel like you waste your abilities. All right, for this, obviously open up with our super, land a couple of anarchy shots out there, and get the loop going again like I showed off before in the shooting range. Like I got absolutely fried and demolished. All right, where's the big boss? Where's the final boss? There you are. Same thing. Stick some anarchy on him. Apply some jolt via an ability, and then go to town just spamming your stuff over and over again. Oh, there's no like mechanic during this boss fight. I feel like I remembered salt mines being way harder than it was. Wow. All right, but yeah, that was absolute light work. I finished that in literally what, like 5 minutes. Okay. I feel bad. I feel like I didn't get you guys a lot of gameplay using the build, but I guess it is what it is. Regardless though, that was the brand new Lucky Raspberry build. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw and can really see what I see in this build in this thing and just see exactly how potent this exotic actually is now. I really do appreciate the buff that they did to this, and I really hope they apply the mindset they had with this and apply it to other exotics in the game that really need some love. I recently made a Graviton Forfeit build on the buff that this thing received in Renegades, and it kind of gave me the same feeling as this, where these buffs are actually not just really good, but kind of thought out in terms of playstyles, I feel. So good job, Bungie. I appreciate that. As always, with all of my build videos, I do have a link to the build in the description. It is a Mobalytics link. If you just click that, it'll take you to the Mobalytics website where you can see the build in website form, and you can also copy everything over to your character from there. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. If you made it this far, I love your face, and all you fine ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day.